Hello there, I'm Nacho Tepa. I'm Power Platform Tech Lead at iSolutions AG here from Barcelona. And today I bring to you how to get started with Power Apps Canvas. I will start from scratch, creating a very simple application using at first an Excel spreadsheet, and then I will shift to a SharePoint list to make it easier, to make it more convenient. And it's going to be a very simple application, yet very functional application in which employees will be able to register their time off, their vacations within the company. So stick around because it's going to be really good. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you stay up to date with all the new content here at iSolutions Power. Let's go. So, well, first of all, I just got to say that I'm working on a Mac. But it doesn't matter. It obviously works in Microsoft environments, in Windows. So here I'm just running an Excel spreadsheet, and I use this spreadsheet to register the vacation from department, for instance. So here in employee, I would just put here, for instance, here the starting date could be this date. And the end date could be, for instance, date. Total days would be the difference. Here I will just make a very quick formula. So I have 10 days in total, and the deputy could be Dario. And I would go forward with it. I would just put more people here. I could put here, for instance, David. I could put a different date here. This is just a standard or regular record of who is going on vacation for a department, for a company. And as you can see here, everything gets calculated automatically because of the formula, because of the Excel formula that I use here. But in any case, in order to develop mobile applications, you should not be using Excel as a database. What do I mean with a database? An application stores the information in a database. How the database looks, it's like this. It's just a table. It's not in Excel, it's in different software, but you could use Excel. But in this case, we're not going to be using this. We're going to be using SharePoint lists. That's my recommendation. I'm not going to dive into why you should use SharePoint lists instead of Excel. There are other databases that you can use for creating a Power App, for creating a mobile application. But for this case, we're going to be using SharePoint lists. So I'm going to get rid of this book. I'm going to create this exact same behavior, employee, starting date, end date, total days, and deputy. But I'm going to do that in SharePoint. So how do I access SharePoint? This is quite straightforward. The first place I have to visit is office.com. And here, if I select this option here on the top left corner, I can go to SharePoint. And here I'm taken to a SharePoint site. This depends on the organization, but you could create a new site if you have the privileges, or you can leverage an existing one. For instance, in my case, I'm going to leverage this one, and I'm going to hit new list. What I will do is I go ahead and select the blank list. Actually, I could leverage the Excel I just showcased, the Excel I just showed you. But in this case, I'll just go ahead and show you how you create a SharePoint list. Here we could give it a name. For instance, I'm going to use a very simple name, which is vacation registration. There's no need to put a description, but it's something that you could use, something healthy. I'm going to hit create. So here I got created the table, vacation registration. I have the title, and I can add new columns. One of the things I would suggest you to do, and I'm not going to dive into technical details, is that if you do not want to use the title column, you can add a column here and select text. For instance, it's a text type column, what I'm looking for. And here I will go with employee as the name of the column and hit save. There you go. And what I can do is I can remove the title column. And in order to do that, I can go to show hide columns, hide the title column, and select apply. Now I have my employee column in the first place, and I can start adding the other columns. For instance, I'm going to add the start date. I'm gonna say that I don't want the time included. I'm gonna hit save. And the same thing goes for the end date. Save. And there are different approaches in which you can typically work when you're creating a mobile application. Is that you can do the calculations in the database, and you can do the calculations in the user interface. In my case, I'm going to be doing the second one, the second option. I'm going to do it in the user interface. So what I will be doing here is I will just create a number column, or let's make it clear, total days. I will say that it has no decimal places, and I'm going to hit save. And the last thing is text deputy. There we go. We have the same exact table we had in Excel. So what you typically do when you're working on SharePoint is that you hit new, and you can start adding values here. Not related to the creation of an application, but if you want to modify the form here, you go here, you hit edit columns, you click the title, you hit save, and now I have the exact same columns that I have in the table view. I have it also in the form. So for instance, if I put the same values here, I go with the start date, I go with the end date. Total days in this case, I can put the value manually, and the deputy I can say it is Dario. It's safe, and here I have a record. This is just regular working with SharePoint lists. So if you are not familiar with it, now you're a little bit more familiar with it, and you can start working just with SharePoint straight ahead. And yeah, you're good to go with it. But let's do some magic. I'll just go ahead and create a Power App here. So I'm going to select Integrate, Power Apps, Create an App. I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to say Vacation Registration App. I'm going to hit Create. So right now, what Power App is doing is creating a mobile application with phone layout, because there are two different layouts, phone and tablet. We're going to be seeing that in a minute. But for the time being, is creating a phone layout for a mobile application that will allow us to send or create new records, edit those records, and also delete those records. Users will be able to, on the fly, check which records are already created in the system, and so on and so forth. So here I have the application. I did nothing. I have not edited the video. This is how long it took for Power Apps to create the application based on my SharePoint list. So here I have one record. This is the record I just created. Just so you are aware of where we are in the Power Apps Studio. You know, we are in the Power Apps Studio because we are in this URL, make.powerapps.com, but also because we have this layout here surrounding the mobile user interface. Here on the left-hand side, we have the tree. On top, we have the formula bar and some options, some commands. And on the right-hand side, we have the details. We're going to be diving into that in a minute, but just so you are aware of things, very important, the play button. I'm going to hit play. And this is the layout for a mobile phone. This is what will be displaying in a mobile phone that has this application. So for instance, if I go into this record, I can see the employee, the start date, the end date, total days, and the deputy. This is the exact same values that I have here because this application is connected to this list. And in order to prove that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the edit button, the pencil, and now I'm in editing mode. Again, this has been created automatically by Power Apps. So here, if I change the deputy from Dario to Ben and hit OK, it has changed here in the mobile application. This is the expected behavior. And the cool thing is that if I hit refresh here in the database, here I have the name changed. So yeah, if people are, let's say, on the field, working with the application, making changes on the fly, I will be able to see those changes while I'm sitting in my desktop, taking a look at the SharePoint list. So going back to the application, other stuff you can do is you can go back here, you can create a new record. You can put here the employee is going to be David. I'm going to put here the dates from Monday to Friday. That's 5 days. And the deputy, we say it's Anais, so we hit OK here. And boom, we have the record. If we select the record, we get into details. Again, we can edit, hitting the pencil. I can cancel the editing. I can go back. And other thing I can do is, for instance, I'm going to take the first record and I'm going to select the trash can here and delete the item. Oh, I just deleted it. A few changes. I created a new record. I deleted the first record. So if I go back into the SharePoint list and again refresh, you can see that Rhea record is gone. And now I have the David record here. So this is quite cool. This is quite straightforward. There are other things that are working on here. For instance, a search bar, refresh button to rearrange items by sorting in alphabetical order. But what I want to tell you, or what I want to show you, is how you can edit and create and manage and craft the application the way you want it to be. So here, as you can see, I have this record, for instance, but it's kind of odd how it's displayed, because here it should show the name. And in this case, David. For instance, I don't want to have David. The 25th of September is the start date. By the way, this is mistaken. I'll just change it right away. That's it, from the 18th to the 22nd, 5 days. And if I go back here, I hit refresh, it has changed, as you can see. It goes both ways. It goes from the application to SharePoint and also from SharePoint to the mobile application. But again, what I want to see here is the name, the starting date, and the end date. So in order to do that, I'll just go here, I'll select this label here, and as you can see here, we have the formula bar that says this item title, but I don't want this item title. I want this item employee. And where it says the employee, I don't want employee. I want the start date. And where it says the start date, I don't want the start date. I want the end date. Here I have the application the way I want it to be showcasing the data. So the challenge for today's video is to create this exact same application, but from scratch. So in order to do that, what I need to do is I can open here a new tab and go to make.powerapps.com, and I will be taken to Power Apps. I'm in the home screen, and I have these different options to start. The first thing I want to say is that I'm in the default environment. I'm not going to dive into what the environment is, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to say start with a page design. This is one of the options. Start with data. I could start with the SharePoint list, but in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to apps, hit new app, hit canvas, and here I will select the font layout, and I will select registration of vacations. This is the name for the application, and the type I selected is canvas because, as you can see here, we have a blank canvas we're going to be painting. A little bit of guidance or walkthrough for the layout. Here we have on top some commands. We have the formula bar. We have on the left-hand side the tree, and we have on the right-hand side the details, as I said before. So on the left-hand side, we do have the tree because here, if we go a little bit further to the left, we have selected the tree view. But we can go to Insert. The options that we have here are the same options we have here, text label, text label. We can go to data sources, we can go to media, we can go to flows, we can go to variables. There are some things that will make our application more beautiful, more complex, but for the time being, I'm going to stick to data source, and I'm going to select add data. So here it says select the data source, and by default, it gives me Dataverse options, but this is a different database than the one we are going to be using. In this case, I'm looking for SharePoint. So if I type SharePoint, here I have the first selection, hit SharePoint, and here I have the different sites I have access to. So I'm going to hit my place, and I'm going to select application registration, the list I just created. I'm going to hit connect, and now this application has access to that list. Okay, this is the very first thing we need to do. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new screen, because if we go back to the application we just created, I have 3 screens. Browser screen, where I can query the information that I have in the list. The detail screen, that I'm taking to this screen when I select the record. And the edit screen, I'm taking to the screen when I hit this button. Cool? Okay, so I'm going to recreate that. I'm going to change the name of the screen browse, add a new screen details. I'm going to add the last screen, which is going to be screen edit. Okay, right now it's very difficult to tell one from another. I can know which one I select because I see that in the tree view. But apart from that, nothing else is there to make a difference between the different screens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert here the first item. So I'm going to put a text label here, and this is quite like you do in PowerPoint. You just drag and drop the elements on the canvas, and this is very easy to develop an application with this approach, because what you see is what you get. Right now I have the application here. I'm gonna play with the details here on the right hand side. I'm gonna put the text alignment here in the middle, and I'm going to say browse data. There we go. And I'm going to change the color. I'm gonna make it orange, and here the font, I'm gonna make it white, and also I'm gonna make it semi-bold. So if I hit play here I have the first screen, but this is only the first screen. I also have the second screen and the third screen. It's very healthy to go through all your application and name every item you have. In this case, I'm not going to be doing it because I want to give it a little bit of speed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this. I can Control C if I'm on Windows, and Control V here, and Control V here. Yes, I have it here, browse data. In this case, it's going to be details, and in this case, it's going to be edit. So now, apart from being able to differentiate in which screen I am because of the tree view, I can also see on the canvas why or in which screen I am. But let's navigate through the different screens. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, here in the browser screen, I'm going to insert, and this is one of the two most used objects in Power Apps Canvas, the vertical gallery, or a gallery. It could be horizontal, but in this case, the most used ones are the vertical ones. So this is the gallery that will show the information that's in the database in our SharePoint list. But in this case, as you can see, we have only dummy data here, which obviously does nothing for us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this gallery to this data source. Since I already added here data source, I can just select it on the right-hand side. But check this out, because this is the usual behavior for a Power Apps Canvas. If you have not selected the gallery, you will have no details. The details on the right-hand side change depending on the object you have selected on the canvas. So here on the left-hand side, I selected the gallery. So already, the Power Apps is already suggesting me to do a connection with one of the databases that I have selected in previously in the sources, in the data sources. So in this case, I can click here, or I can click here. It's the same. I will connect this gallery to this data source. So I just did that, and as you can see here, it's already showing me the first record, the record about David. Things you can change here is the layout. You can change the layout here for title, title and subtitle, title, subtitle and body, image and title, image, title and subtitle, and image, title, subtitle and body. But in this case, since I'm not using images, I'm going to go with title, subtitle and body. So Power Apps automatically changes the labels and displays different information depending on what Power Apps thinks is best. But sometimes it's a little bit off, like in this case. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do what I did before. I'm going to say that first I want to showcase the employee, starting date, and the end date. Okay, very good. I have the information here displayed, and it looks the way I want it to look. One of the things I want to show you is that I have selected this in the gallery, but I'm going to add some more information on the database. I'm going to do this manually. I'm going to add new. I'm going to put real value here. Go. Save. And I'm going to add a third one. Go. Save. Okay. I added something in the database. When you are creating a mobile application, in the long run, you are not supposed to manipulate the database from the backend, from behind the scenes, from here. But since we are just building, I just added some information here to show you something. I'm going back to the application here. I'm selecting the data source here on the left-hand side, and here on the ellipses, I hit refresh, and I can see the data here. Okay, so one of the things is that if I click here, here, and here, as you can see, I have a different behavior that is telling me at the user interface level which record I have selected. And this is quite convenient. This is quite straightforward. How is this currently working? I'm going to show you a little bit of it. For instance, if I select this label in the gallery, I have this value in the formula which says this item or this item.employee. This is because I have selected for this label the text property, but I have many other properties here on the right-hand side, these details. So in order to manipulate them, I can select from the dropdown here, or I can do it here. So for instance, the font weight here, as you can see, when I play the application, it changes. It gets bold when I have the record selected. So if I go back, I have here this label, and I go to font weight. And here in font size, I have 14 because it's always 14. It never changes. But here it's telling me that the property has a formula. Select to edit in the formula bar. So when I hit here, it has changed the value of the formula from a text to font weight, and now I have a formula here set in place by default by Power Apps. So it says the formula is quite straightforward. It says if this item dot is selected, it means if this record is selected, comma, this is the behavior I want. I want the font weight to be semi-bold. And if it is not selected, that's what the comma is telling us, I want the font weight to be normal. So for instance, I could go with bold. So as you can see here, when I have not selected the record, I have a bold value, and if I select the record, I have a semi-bold value. Okay? This is quite convenient because what it's telling me, or what the Power Apps is allowing me, is to be able to, in this formula bar, in an Excel way, I can start telling the Power Apps or the Power App how I want it to behave. I'm going to revert the value. One of the things that you could use is the undo. So I just reverted the change. So I have the behavior I had before, and this is quite convenient throughout your application building. So we have the application here. We have the first screen, but we have not set the navigation properties here. So what I'm going to do is, or what happens in the previous application, is that whenever I select this application, I get taken to a different screen. So if I select the gallery, and here in properties, I go to the onSelect property, and here in the formula bar, I remove the false, which makes the application, or makes the behavior to do nothing. I'm going to change that to navigate. This is a function. And I'm going to say that I want it to navigate to the details screen. I can close the parenthesis here. And now if I play the application and hit this option, I've been taken to the details screen, as you can see here on top. Okay, that's the expected behavior. But what if I want to come back? Well, first thing I need to do is I can put an icon here. I can put an icon that makes sense. For instance, an arrow left. I'll put it here. I'll make it white. And here on the onSelect property, which is what happens when you select this icon or this object, I'm going to select, or to put in the formula, the back function. So if I go back here on the tree view, and I'm playing the application here, and I select David record, and now I hit the back icon, I'm taken back to the previous screen. This is the behavior I was looking for. So back to the details screen, I'm going to get out of the play mode, and I'm going to insert here a form. This is the second critical object for a Power Apps canvas. Forms will allow us to check the details of a given record, all the information of a given record, and also edit those values. So in a similar way as we did before with the gallery, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that this form is connected to my ShapePoint list. There you have it. And also I'm going to say that default mode is view, because I want this form to be only showing the data, not allowing the users to manipulate the data. So now I have for the form selected data source, which is my ShapePoint list. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the item property, and I'm going to make a change here in the formula bar. We need to go to the formula bar and put here something that is critical that you pay close attention, because if you recall here from the browser screen, we put here this gallery. Here in the tree view, we can see the name of the gallery. It's called Gallery 1. So if I go back to screen details, and I go back to the form, and I'm back in the item property, I want to display here what the user selected in the gallery. So that's what we're going to be telling Power Apps to display. So I'm going to say here gallery 1 dot selected. And voila, here you have all the information that I previously selected. Let's test it for a moment. I'm going to back here, I'm going to hit play, I'm going to select the band record in this case, and here I have information being displayed. I go back, David, and I have David selected. And as you can see, and this is the very, very cool thing from Power Apps Canvas, the language that we use, which is called PowerFX, it's very, 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 very easy to work with. Here we said that I want to display from the gallery 1 whatever is selected, and here we have it, quite straightforward. So what we're going to do is we're going to give the option to delete this record, and in order to do that, I'm going to add a new icon here. I'm going to select the trash icon. See if I find it quickly. If I don't find it, I can always use here the search bar, so I find it quickly. Here I put the icon. I'm going to make it white as well. And now, again, like we did here on the onSelect property, of the icon, I'm going to say remove. And here, this is very important because this is something that you're going to be working with Power Apps Canvas at all times. It's called IntelliSense. What does IntelliSense do? As you can see here on top is identifying correctly the function. I know that because it's highlighted in blue. Now I open a parenthesis here, and now IntelliSense, which is this part on top, is telling me what I should put here as a first argument of my function. And here it's saying collection. In this case, collection means data source. So I want to remove from a data source. Which data source? Here I have some suggestions. Obviously, since I only have one data source, it's giving me one suggestion only. I want to remove from this shapepoint list, from this data source, comma, and now, as you can see, it got highlighted the second argument, which is which item I want to remove. Here I have two approaches. I can go with for one, or I can go with gallery 1. I'm going to make same approach, gallery 1 selected, and I can close the parenthesis. If I don't close it and I hit comma here I can put more arguments, more items to remove. But in this case, I want to remove just one, so I can close the parenthesis now. So this is good, but the thing or the behavior that I'm going to have here is that I'm going to remove this information here, but nothing else is going to happen, meaning I'm going to stick in the details screen with empty information here. And this is not a good behavior. So I want this icon, the trash icon, to do a second thing. So in order to do that, in order to put functions sequentially, I can put a semicolon here and execute a second formula. The second formula I'm going to execute here is the behavior from this arrow. So I'm going to copy this, go back to the icon, and paste it here. So now, if I go to the browser screen and I select David's record and click this button, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to delete from the database this record, and also it's going to take me back to the browser screen. So I will be seeing only 2 records. So let's see if that is correct. There you go. Now I have Ria, I have Ben, but I have no David. So if I go with Ria again, here I'm having the expected behavior. So yeah, now I can delete records, and now what I want to do is I want to edit records. So again, very user-friendly is to go with an icon. I can go with pencil or pen input. In this case, I'm gonna this one. This is a control. I'm gonna insert icons. I think it's edit. Yeah, the icon here. There you go. And now I want to edit this record. So in order to edit this record, what I need to do is I want to give it a navigate function. There are different ways to do this, but this is the way I'm going to do it to keep it simple or to keep the same structure as I did before. I'm going to navigate to the edited screen. I'm going to close the parentheses here. And here on the edited screen, I have it pretty much empty. I only have the banner on top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, go back to the edit screen, paste it, and now I have the 3-level navigation. So I go to erkla record, I go to the edit, and if I go back to details, and if I go back, I go to browse data. Okay, so I'm going back to the edit part, and now I'm going to insert a form again, but in this case, the form is going to be in edit mode. So I'm going to put here is this. The data source is going to be the same. And here I'm going to select what the item to be displayed is going to be. So I'm going to item here, and again, gallery1.selected. Here we have it. Here I can start editing. So the controls are in place by default. Just so you know, this is I'm right now using the classic controls. There are new controls which are called modern controls. I'm not using them. But in any case, they are in place, and I can hit the button here, modify, and hit OK. And this is it. I have selected a different date. So one of the other things I want to do is, if you remember at the very beginning of the video, I just created a column here that calculated the total days by automatically. So I'm going to do something very similar here. I'm going to select this this row from the form. You can see I can select different rows. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to advanced and unlock to change properties. So here on this part, I'm going to select it. And as you can see, it says default, current default. This is the default value. Since this is going to be acting as a calculated value, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to select the whole card. I'm going to properties. And on display mode, I can click here or I can change it here. I'm going to say display mode dot view. This way, it's going to prevent the users from modifying this value. Again, I want this to behave as a calculated value. So if I click the label, notice how I change the whole card, or I can select the label here, or I can select the value here. The default value is going to be not the parent.default, going to be this value, which is, I just selected this. And if I go into the tree view, I can see it's called data card value 9. And also I can see it here, data card value 9. And this one is called data card value 8. So I need data card value 9 dot select date minus data card value 8 dot select date. And here I can see that the calculation is already being performed, and I have this value for the difference between the two dates as a calculated value as a result. So, for instance, if I want to change this label, because from a user perspective, it doesn't make any sense to have this start date all together or without a space between, I'm going to hit advanced, unlock change properties, and here, selecting the label, I'm going to say that the text is not the parent.display name, it's going to be start date. And here I'm going to do the same. Change the end date. And for total days, I'm going to do the same. Okay, So yeah, here as a user, I can change things. I can put, for instance, the last name, but I cannot save the changes. In order to save the changes, what I need to do is I'm going to insert an icon here. I'm going to insert check button or the check icon here. Again, change the color, and I'm going to say what is the behavior expected for this icon. So what I need to do is I'm going to use a new function that I haven't showed you yet, which is called submit form. As you can see, or you can notice now, the function names are quite straightforward, are quite representative of what they do. For instance, in this case, we have this form, the form in the screen. It's called form 2. So I'm going to submit form 2, form 2, and what will happen here if I leave it as this is that, in a similar way as before, it's going to send the form, leave this empty because the form is submitted, and it's going to stay here. So again, I'm going to add a semicolon here and put back function here. So let's do the user experience from the very beginning. I'm going to Rea here. I'm going to select edit. I'm going to put the last name. I'm going to modify the days. I'm going to hit save. Here I have the values change. I have the last name now. I have the different dates, and the calculated days are in place now. As you can see here, I still have a start date and end date because I changed that in the edit form, not in the detail form. This is something that I should do if I'm going to be sharing this application with others. But overall, it's already in place. You already know how to do that. So I'm going to show you something else. I'm going to show you how to create a new record. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to here insert, and I'm going to add here, and I'm going to add a new value here. First, I'm going to put here the white color, and this icon, what it's going to do is going to add a new record from scratch, not editing a new record. I'm sorry, not editing an existing record, but creating a new one. So in order to do that, I'm going to make sure that when I go here and I select Ben, and I hit the pencil here, I'm editing this record, but I'm editing this record only because I'm navigating to that screen. So what I need to do is I need to change this formula here. So I need to tell that I want to not just navigate, but I want to also edit the form. So again, with a very clear formula, which is called edit form, I want to edit the second form, the form I have in my edit screen. So right now the behavior is exactly the same as I showed you before, but because until now we've been only editing. And yeah, when I hit the pencil icon, I got to edit values here. So if I go back, yeah, this acts as expected as before, but now we're going to say what this icon is going to do. So if I go here and hit, and the first thing I need to do is to navigate to the edit screen. Yes, we're going to be using the same screen. We don't need to create a new screen for new records and a different screen for editing records. We can use the same one. We can use the same form. So the first thing we need to do is to navigate there, put a semicolon here, and we say we want to create a new form using the form 2. So I'm going to hit play. I'm going to hit button here. And here, as you can see, I can start creating a new record. So in this case, I'm going to say that the employee is Caro. I'm going to select the start date and the end date. And here I have the total days calculated, and the deputy, we can say it's going to be Magdalena. So I can hit the OK icon, and here I have the new record created. But again, this is for creating new records, and selecting the record is for editing the records. One of the first tips I should have told you is to, from the very beginning, go ahead and save. And this is very important because when you save, the autosave starts working when you save the first time. So, for instance, I've been working for a while now on this. And if for any reason I just got disconnected or anything, I would have lost all the progress. So I would suggest you to go ahead from the very beginning, and save the application. So you are saved on that side. You are on the safe side for that. And yeah, I can go back now. And this is just the last thing I'm going to show you. Here I have my application, registration of vacations. And what I can do is I can hit share. So yeah, if I hit share here, I can put Rhea as a user. If I want her to edit the application, I can make her a co-owner. For the time being, I want her to be just a regular user. And I'm going to check the send an email invitation to new users, so she knows that she has access now to the application. I will just hit share, and she will have access. But it's very important that you have this in your mind, that I just gave her access to the application, but if she runs the application, she is gonna see nothing in it because I have not made sure that she has access to the SharePoint list. So I need to add her to the SharePoint site. So if I go to site permissions, share site, here I should put Rhea as well, and she will be able to work with the application fully, because she will be able to write, edit, create new records, and so on and so forth. Because this is just the phase of the application, the phase of the solution. This is what the end users interact with. And you or the user should have access also to the SharePoint list where the information is stored, to the backend. So thank you so much for staying until the very end. I had so much fun doing it, and hopefully you found it useful and fun as well, because this really helps you at a personal productivity level, but also for your department or for your company. It really boosts your efficiency and productivity building one application like this, replacing, all the Excel spreadsheets and so on. So keep in touch with us. Hit the like button if you liked it. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out, and hit the bell button so you get notified. Thanks for watching.